So welcome everyone once again for our fourth session of the Belief 3 Symposium of April 2021. We are very happy to have Sobia Rafiq here as our special guest, but more about that later. My name is Shraddha. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a ward leader of Jogopalia Ward 89. And yeah, on behalf of BNP, I extend once more a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for making the time to be with us today. For my Kannada speaking friends, I'll attempt to say a few lines in Kannada as well. So, Ellarige Namaskara. Nanu Bengaluru Navanirmana Partidu Sadasya. Jogopalia Ward 89 in the ward leader ಆಗಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನವನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ. Thanks. We now go on to our special guest of the evening. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅತಿಥಿ ಅವರು ಸೋಬಿಯಾ ರಫೀಕ್ ಅಂತ ಸೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಇಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಹ BNP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. We very warmly welcome Sobia once again to our session. She's been part of our earlier Belief edition sessions. Some of you may already know her, but for those of us who are not familiar, here are a few lines of introduction to Sobia. Sobia is a well-qualified architect as well as urban planner, and more importantly, she's a solid waste management expert. I know the term solid waste management is something that all of us Bangaloreans are familiar with. And unfortunately, it doesn't have a very good connotation right now for us, because that is one of the chief problems that Bengaluru city is facing right now. And we need more and more people like Sobia within our city to help us sort out this issue for sure. Sobia founded her organization, Sensing Local. Very interesting name, Sobia. And when I looked at the website, they defined themselves as an urban living lab, which again I thought is very interesting, because it very succinctly defines what they set out to do. Their objective is to study urban living and actually map data within the grassroots level or the ward levels, and using the data systematically figure out the problems within the ward. So they put the data into different buckets with respect to urban living, such as waste management, air pollution, water purity, water quality, management of slums, the quality of life within the slums, public amenities, green spaces, etc. The regular problems that all of us as citizens face in urban cities today. And Sensing Local actually puts forth innovative solutions. And what I like about them most is they believe in doing it collaboratively, which is involving the citizens of the ward as well as the authorities which work within the ward, such as the parastatals, the BWSSP, the BDA, the BESCOM, as well as the BBMP, other BBMP officials who actually look after our wards. So welcome once again, Sobia. And with your permission, I'll dive into my first question right away.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So today's topic is mapping the wards and functions of the BBMP. My first question to Sobia is, the 74th Amendment to the Constitution is where the first attempt at decentralizing governance was made. Here is where urban local bodies, this term was defined. So Sobia, could you please touch upon the key provisions of the 74th Amendment, please?
Shraddha, if I can just put share screen, because there will be some guiding slides to also look through. If I can just get
sure.
To switch on my video and share screen.
Yeah, I've done that.
Thank you. Do let me know when you're able to see.
I've done that, Sobia. Please share.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to sort of take this as a format. There will be some guiding slides for some of the questions that I'm going to sort of place there. So the question about the 74th Amendment, right? And very few people even know where did this come from, what does it mean, what powers did it actually give us. And very surprisingly, it happened very recently, right? It was just in 1993 that it came into being, which is effectively been during all of us when we were younger, during a lot of your people that are here as well. We have seen something that's been absolutely revolutionary. But then we sort of look back and say, why has it taken so long for things to be mobilized? So from 1993, we are almost reaching our 20-year mark. But have we still seen the fruit or seen the effect of what it could actually do? So the highlights of the act that the Constitution Amendment did is, one is it put down or put forth the idea of municipalities. It put forth the idea of saying that I should have different types. So you have similar things like town panchayat, you have a TMC, town municipal corporation, then you have a CMC, which is a city municipal corporation, and then you have a corporation that is there. So there are several types of municipalities as well that have been set up based on population. There is the composition of the municipalities that has been put forward. There is also the constitution of ward committees that was put forward at that time. Reservation of seats. This was another very important aspect of the 74th Amendment that came in, where women were given a reservation. There were other groups of people that were given reservations. Fixed duration of municipalities that you find, the 5-year term came from there. The power, authority, and responsibility of municipalities. And I will dwell a little deeper into the ward committees and this aspect of power, authority, and responsibility. The other aspects of, obviously, appointment of state election commission, which happened almost instantaneously in all of these states, finance commission at the state level, and the last one, which we are still really struggling with, which is the constitution of the metropolitan and district planning committees. So I'm sure a lot of people here have heard about trying to set up the, the Metropolitan Planning Committee, the MPC, like they call it, which has been a continuous and is still an ongoing aspect to get that right? But what we have got right is the aspect of ward committees, I would say, to a huge extent. Coming to what the functions of municipal governance are. So one of the sort of things that happened with this decentralization is there's a lot of importance that came to the city municipality. So you have this article, which is the 12th schedule of Article 43 of the Constitution. It lists out 8 specific functions. Now, these functions are basically related to everything that is required at a city level, be it urban planning, water supply, roads, bridges, public health, sanitation, burial grounds, urban poverty alleviation, slum improvement, safeguarding the interest of economically weaker sections, as well as handicapped and mentally retarded groups of people, regulation of slaughterhouses, public amenities, everything comes under this aspect of this municipal governance. Though we do find in our context of Bangalore, water supply goes into BWSSB's gamut. Electricity goes into BESCOM's gamut. But ideally, this should have all been under the aspect of BBMP itself. So ideally, as per this, of course, this is the framework that cities have to take. But as cities have changed, each one of them have come up with their own sort of composition of breaking this down. The sort of aspect of ward committees, I mean, coming to that being one of the main aspects of this particular I think constitutional amendment, it was about also having the panchayats and having the ward committees. And you see that the main aim of what was told into that, and Bangalore's amendment has been quite close to what the 74th constitutional amendment states, is to divide every governing entity, which already has the boundary of the ward, but empower it with a ward committee. So who actually is a part of this ward committee? You have your corporator, which is your elected representative. You have your nodal officer, which is the BBMP, that's the administrative representative. And you have citizen nominated members. And what this actually means is that you have 10x decision makers in the city. Apart from saying that I will only take decision at the top head level and one person from every ward will take the decision. So that's the power of what ward committees have brought to the forefront, where you now see that instead of moving to that complexity of everything going to the commissioner or going to the special commissioner, you actually have this brainstorming and the way that we can actually take decisions at a far more local level in a far more inclusive and informed manner. So that's been like the main focus of this amendment that has now come to the fore.
Great. Thanks, Sophia, for that introduction. My second question is, there is a 17-point ward mandate mentioned in the Karnataka Municipality Act, which came after the 74th Amendment. My question is, how can one deconstruct and actually get down to implementing these 17 points?
So, I mean, this was for us actually as urban planners, this was the most exciting part of it. So, when we sort of, and this had happened internally in the company as well, when we sort of saw this mandate, right, and saying that what all is there as a part, one is part of the KMC Act, which is the Karnataka Municipal Act. There were quite a few things that were also stated. However, we also realized that there were things that were continuing to be added to this mandate as well by the High Court. Saying that, okay, like say, for example, the 17th point that is here has actually been added by the High Court. It didn't exist in the original KMC Act as well. So this 17-point mandate, and I think it's important to look at this very closely, right? Because you may have everything possible here. You have probably the most widest scope for a ward committee to do. However, what we will be decoding through the conversation as well, I think, will be to understand what does it actually mean to have this at a ward level, and is this actually doable or not doable at a ward level, and how much do we actually push back at the city level, or even the ward to the zone and then the city level. So one of the first things that it says is that you have to have a ward development scheme. What does this mean? The basic thing is I need to put in a plan in place that can allow me to then give a basic localized budgeting plan for my ward. That's what that means. The second is ensure proper utilization of funds under ward development scheme in the ward. That means that once these funds are allocated, how do those get utilized? The third is approve the list of beneficiary or for beneficiary oriented schemes that have to actually come into the ward level. There's several beneficiary oriented schemes by several departments for that matter. There's BBMP welfare, you'll have the state level bodies, there'll be schemes for distributing laptops, there will be education scheme, there'll be health schemes. However, at this scale, they are all meant to converge. And it is the power of the ward committee that needs to undertake an exercise of ensuring that this actually goes to the most the people that are most in need. Then is scrutinization of ineligible beneficiaries. So this links up with the previous thing, and you see the reference of area sabhas, which actually is something that has been stated, but we do realize in Bangalore that has not still taken form. So area sabhas, and I will allude to it at some point in time, but the area sabhas again are meant to be smaller units of the ward divided by area level boundaries that then start having conversations with the ward committee, and that moves forward from there. Then is the supervision of all programs and schemes that are being implemented, ensuring timely collection of taxes, fees, and other sums due to the corporation. So this again makes you very close to understanding who's meant to pay, who's flouting, where is property tax coming from, where is it not coming from. All of that is the power that we have a potential to influence at the ward level. Ensuring water supply maintenance in the ward and finalize location of new public taps and public wells. Here again, you realize, though this is actually maybe under the scope of BWSSB, it still comes under the ward committee. So that entire aspect of parastatals not working together is something that can be resolved at this level. Then ensuring sewage system management, proper solid waste management and sanitation in the ward, and finalize the location of new public sanitation units. Ensure maintenance of streetlights in the ward, finalize the location of new streetlights. Again, very local thing, because very interestingly that streetlights have been put at one sort of, there is one standard and norm across the city. In fact, you also realize that in some cases it is so high up or it's covered by trees, or despite the fact that it's there, it does not give enough light, or the type of light that is not proper, or the height of the light is not proper. So all of this is an aspect to look in at the scale of the ward, which may influence the top level. Ensuring maintenance of parks, open spaces, greening of areas in the ward. Again, extremely local, amazing that it is in the committee mandate. ensuring afforestation and implementation of rainwater harvesting schemes. Mobilize voluntary labor and donation by way of goods or money. This we all saw it come through in with all the COVID work and amazing COVID work that has been happening, which is also linked back to the idea of setting up a disaster management cell at the ward level. I'm sure you would have all heard a lot about this too during the COVID time, saying that we have to set up our disaster management cell. It's coming up in the form of having booth level committees linking up to the disaster management cell. All of these have been derived, or sort of the threads have been taken from this base of the ward committee mandate. Another very interesting thing that we keep saying, right? We don't know what is happening, which roads need repair, what is going on, what is the work that is there. All of that is meant to be clarified at the ward committee level, where the ward committee is meant to inspect roads to ascertain whether a street needs repair because of potholes or any other causes, and to monitor the repair as it is going on and the maintenance work. So all in all, this 17-point mandate is so powerful that it is just literally left at the ward committee to take and float with it. How we look at it at Sensing Local, so we sort of said that, okay, listen, this is great, but it is not actionable. I don't know where I need to start if I was a ward committee member, nor do I know how to start influencing all these things in a constructive manner so that it's not, again, dependent on whatever the corporator says, or with someone who has extra knowledge than what the rest of the members have, or the fact that I don't even involve people in it, but I, as a ward committee member, I may become or speak only as per my experience of my area as opposed to the entire ward area. So we realized that there are actually three main tasks that the ward committee needs to take up. One is strategy, planning, and budgeting. This is the most important task. And we realized that a lot of these points that have been mentioned in the ward committee mandate require strategy, planning, and budgeting. The second piece that we realize is based on monitoring and reporting, which is as things are going, as things are coming, it's based on monitoring and reporting of those aspects. This also means that we need to have a proper reporting format for ward committees back to the head office level or the zonal level. The third is the implementation and supervision. This is another very important aspect of saying that are things getting done, right? What is the manner in which they are meant to get done? How do you, if a road work is going on, what is the communication that has to happen to rest of the citizens in that area so that they're not inconvenienced by the road work? So there's all these, smaller aspects that can be handled only at a local level, and the information can be translated only at the local level, which also comes under implementation and supervision. So effectively, what we tried to do, and we have been sort of spending some time to see how this framework will build further, is that actually you need a massive ward development scheme, but also you need a solid waste management and a sanitation plan. You need a water management plan. You need a public space management plan. You need a mobility management plan and an air quality management plan. Additionally, you have the disaster management plan that is not only about reacting for when a thing like COVID hits, but have a ready strategy on how we would respond to disasters at the local level. And finally, the beneficiary oriented schemes. In monitoring, of course, all the program schemes that are being implemented by BBMP, timely collection of taxes, water supply maintenance, all of these aspects have a monitoring component. Solid waste management. So you have the Suchi Mitras that are very active in a lot of the wards, or citizens that are very active in a lot of the wards who have that mechanism of complaining back and saying what is going wrong, what is right, whether certain things have happened, not happened. Street lights, whether they're working, not working. And then finally, you have your implementation and supervision, which is the project development and implementation of all budgeted projects. So if certain projects have been budgeted for that particular year, how does the spending of that happen? And we this is a very important aspect, because what we've also realized when we've interacted that with a lot of ward and looking at ward level budgets, is that a lot of the budget, nearly 40% of it goes unspent. If not more in a lot of other cases, right? But why is this going unspent? What is the reason for it to go unspent? There are multiple, issues that can be discussed at the local level. If it goes unspent, instead of making the budget lapse, is there somewhere else you can divert the budget that is needed for the ward? So all of these are important conversations that can happen at this level.
Great. That is really nice, Sophia. It was very interesting to know how empowered a ward committee can actually be if it functioned in the way that it was meant to be as per the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act. But unfortunately, we all know that that's not the ground reality. But parties like the Bengaluru Navanirmana Party have put this as a strong point in their agenda to make ward committees functional, to make them effective, and to figure out how they can be change makers in our city. So thank you for that very detailed explanation. My next question is, Sensing Local attended several ward meetings in the process of coming up with a system to map a ward with respect to several aspects. So could you tell us something about what you learned at these ward meetings and how it helped you?
So, I mean, the main thing basically was that we as urban planners have, I mean, one of the reasons that Sensing Local also set up was to see where is the space for urban planning. Do we, as planners, only sit at a master plan level, yet we see master plans failing radically? However, there is a MacArthur report that's come up, another one by McKinsey that comes up saying that we are really short of urban planners in a country like India. So when you have all of these conversations that are going on, yet you have almost no space for planning in a defined way, we sort of found this as an opportunity to say that, okay, let's see where is the scope for us to plan, or is there scope for us to plan? Are these ward committees with the aspirations that are being put on them, are they actually functioning that way? And you know, what is actually required to make them truly transformational? And so the idea of the study started from there. And actually, when we started on the study, we said that it's not actually ours to do alone. So we sort of reached out to Civic. I'm sure you had Katyani ma'am in the past session yesterday. We reached out to Janagraha, we reached out to Citizens for Bengaluru, as well as Reap Benefit. All of these organizations that had been working at the ground level to also understand what is going on with these ward committees, how can all of us better support them, is there a space for us to support them, right? And the need for it came out of like four main things. We wanted to understand the current functioning of ward committees. What are the types of issues discussed? How is it communicated? What is the representation of these ward committees in terms of even whether it's issue or types of people that are there that are speaking up in these committees? What is the speed and process of resolution of issues? What is the format of these meetings, and how is it actually curated? So who's leading it, right? Who's in charge of these meetings? Who's setting the agenda? And finally, we sort of put our heads together to say what is the kind of support that these ward committees need in order to actually fulfill this mandate, this 17-point mandate that has been laid on them. And so we sort of started with, of course, by then they were still not bad. At least half the city had moved towards having at least one ward committee meeting. And we sort of tried to make it through a representative sample of 22, which a few of which had a few, didn't have a few. So this was conducted over a couple of months to be able to capture as many ward committees. And so some of the very interesting things that we found, right? We saw that very organically, each ward committee had figured out their own method of conducting the meeting. But what was most sort of heartening to see is that at this ward committee level, I not only had the nodal officer and the corporator that was present, that's the BBMP person and the political person from obviously the corporator. We also had a lot of parastatal officials that were present at this level. And the beauty of it was that everybody knew everybody. And because at the local level, not only had they all interacted before, they are currently interacting on multiple jobs. And you sort of lost that hierarchy that usually exists between when, say, a BWSSB commissioner and a BBMP commissioner are made to talk, you know. So at this level, it also started looking very doable in terms of issue resolution. And of course, you had a lot of ward committees where there were citizens who were not committee members either, who were still attending these meetings, trying to have a conversation, finding it as a first level of discussion with the corporator, getting their voice heard, or getting it recorded for that matter, since a lot of these ward committees were actually listing down their meetings of minutes and uploading them online. However, there were still a lot of issues, right? So together, what we came forward with all the other organizations, and this was submitted to BBMP as well, we had realized that the ward committee meetings ended up being chaired by multiple people. Sometimes it was a ward committee member who was just very influential. Sometimes it was the nodal officer, sometimes it was the corporator. However, we realized that when the corporator, who is the main person who is accountable at that stage, actually chairs the meeting, it is far more powerful. The other aspect is there was very little communication, or a lot of people wouldn't make it for that second Saturday of the month. So having an optional day where there are 2 days of the month that you could have it, which either first, second Saturday and fourth Saturday, or whichever other day, would be something that would be useful. Correct locations of ward committee meetings is made to be made public. A lot of people didn't know where the meetings are happening. Even till now, in fact, there is no proper communication of when the ward committee meeting is happening. It's not like there's a one place that we can go and find out where my ward committee meeting is happening, when is it happening, any of that information. Bilingual communication. I mean, this is so important because Bangalore is no more only native Kannada speaking population, right? Of course, there is an aspect of wanting to, push forward, saying you are in Bangalore, you are in Karnataka, you should know Kannada. However, it is important that you still make the communication completely accessible to people who don't know but still are have access to the ward committee. The agenda being shared a week before, compulsory representation of all the designated officials, uh, time of the meeting being rationed. This was probably the most important thing that we found, because most of the time your ward committees just became grievance redressal platforms, and the entire hour and a half would just go at multiple citizens coming and putting forth their grievances, which actually to a huge extent is sort of a waste of time from that perspective. The other aspect is the process of documenting these minutes of the meetings, right? That was not standardized across the wards. There also needs to be accountability towards issue resolution. So, in fact, even in the few ward committees just recently also that we attended, we realized that things were just getting passed on from one ward committee meeting to the next one to the next one with no resolution. So even the smallest of things did not see resolution instantaneously. Then the fact that each ward committee member must attend a minimum number of meetings. So we realized that a lot of ward committee members didn't actually attend meetings at all. So a lot of people had not even seen them, but they were been put in place by the corporator at some point. There is obviously a lot of people who didn't want to or didn't know they had to were nominated and put in here. So there should be a mandate for the seats to be filled by people who actually turn up for the meetings as opposed to otherwise. The other aspect that two aspects that we gave suggestions was from the working of ward committees and the support required by ward committees. So the working of ward committees, we realized that actually every ward committee member should have a certain role. So this is comes from the example. For example, Ward 85 had different people who were ward committee members who took up different aspects. So there was one ward committee member that focused on solid waste management. There was another ward committee member that focused on lakes and water bodies. So ward committee members taking up different, tasks in terms of the sectors was actually quite helpful for a certain set of wards to function in a more responsible manner. However, in other places, there were people that were, even though there may be some other people who had the verticals that are there, they would share it amongst themselves by area. So, for instance, somebody would look after only by that geographical area that they were residing in across issues. So, what is the roles and responsibilities of the ward committee members? How are they dividing it amongst themselves is a very important aspect. Provision of all necessary ward level data in a usable format. Now, this is something that is highly contested because there is data on the BBMP website, but how usable is that data? How does somebody who is a citizen who hasn't even worked with this kind of data that they have, whether it's the tenders that they put out, the way things are explained in the government documents, how is that going to be transferred into data where somebody does not even understand, or you can't even use that data because it can't be deciphered? Then the next important thing was development of a systematic way of setting the agenda that reflects and follows the mandate of it. how do you ensure that everything is discussed as per the mandate rather than whatever comes in organically, right? So really planning the agenda. Ward committee members themselves have to have working meetings. They cannot be turning up once a month, listen to grievances and leave. How about having these interim working meetings that actually work through resolving some of these issues so that by the next ward committee, there's actually some resolution to the issues that were brought up in the first one. Submission of a monthly action taken report. Now, this has already been said that there needs to be a report that is submitted. However, nobody has a format of what is this report that needs to be submitted. So at least at the end of every month, what are the actions that were taken in the ward that were brought up in the ward committee and that were resolved, right? The creation of a ward development scheme to inform yearly budgets. Of course, that is the most important thing as you sort of start in. And I think it's highly linked with the ward level data as well. The support that's required by ward committees. So we also realized that it wasn't just the fact that ward committees, now the nodal officer is there, the corporator is there, citizens are there, now things are going to happen by magic. Especially when you load on such a heavy agenda on a ward committee. We realized that actually there is a dedicated resource that needs to help support the nodal officer. This was brought up several times, not only by the nodal officers themselves, but also at the head office level, where it was realized that the nodal officer had this as an additional job. However, this is almost like a full-time job to be able to resolve this. So you did need a dedicated support for the nodal officer. There was training of ward committee members that needs to happen so that they understand of what their role is and how they best need to perform it. Technical support for achieving the mandate, right? So basics of how do I map, how do I translate this data, where does the support come from, right? And then integration of civic dashboards. So you have several, you have the Sahaya app, you have so many other, BWSSB has its own complaint system. How is that integration happening so that there is a civic dashboard for anybody who's attending a ward committee, for things to, information to be got, to look at, apart from who comes to the ward committee, whoever's complained on the Sahaya app, how does that get, that resolution happen? So all of this sort of came out of the study where we wanted to very specifically focus on what can constructively move from here basis the way, the committees were currently working in their present form.
That is very nice. Thanks, Sobia. The suggestions that you put forth are actually very implementable in my opinion. I have, in fact, attended ward meetings in my ward, and all the things that you said about them are completely true. Most of the time, it is all about talking about the grievances in the ward and figuring out if something got solved or not. There is no stress or time given for the actual ward development and improvement of the ward. That's so true. There is no accountability either with the BBMP officials as well as with the ward committee members. Nobody asked them if they came up with any schemes or any kind of budget or any kind of ward study. That is not done. And so the simple suggestions that you give, I think, would very effectively help to make our ward committees much more effective. All it needs is the will from the authorities to implement these changes. My next question is about the topic itself. The topic of today's session is ward mapping and the functions of the BBMP, right? I would like to know, could you please explain what exactly is ward mapping to some of us who are not familiar with the term, and how exactly can be related to the functions of the BBMP?
Yeah. I will, Shraddha, just before that, at the video part, I'm not able to switch on. Just sort of.
Oh.
It's
okay.
Saying that I don't have access, which is why, apologies. That's why.
Oh, you're not able to switch it on?
No, I'm not able to switch it on.
Okay, so I'll request my fellow panelists to try and sort this out.
Yes. So coming to the ward mapping, right? And I mean, leading to, I will sort of pull in from the ward development scheme as well, right? So firstly, why is it important for us to map anything at the ward level? What exactly will we get out of it? What kind of information that needs to be, pull in? So you'll see here is a graphic of those 22 odd ward committees that we actually looked and documented their particular issues that were there. And you realize that not only do the types of issues differ, also in terms of the composition of what are the different issues that are there, also then the number of issues that are raised with respect to that particular aspect also differs. And all of this, in fact, so I mean, if you look at like Ward 58 right here, right, and you see the roads. I don't know if you all are able to see my cursor there, but you see the roads section there. It has so many issues regarding roads that were brought up. Similarly, we see here Ward 112, which has noise pollution as an issue that's brought up. It's not seen anywhere else. If you notice that this orange color that you see is not seen except for Ward 112. So you realize that actually the issues are quite varied across wards when it's brought up. And this is an example of sort of looking at why this city data is not enough, right? Because what is prioritized at the city may not be reflective of what needs to be prioritized at the ward level. For instance, here is the example of Ward 85, right? You see that, of course, there's several issues that are prioritized here, but actually in Ward 85, sanitation and waste management was the top most issue. Similarly, you see that if you see their top three issues, there's again roads, pavement, and then there's land use conflicts. So land use conflicts, however, is not still in the top issue of the city level. So if you see the variance of issues, the top three issues, if you go at a ward level, will be far different. Also, when I look at a city level, there are way many more challenges, but here there are just 6 challenges that need to be addressed. So the data availability itself, so even the data that BBMP is put out, in fact, on their website is city level data. And okay, hi you guys. Now I think you can see me. So so this is city level data, and what we realized is that city level data is not representative of what is required at the ward level. So local macro to micro level data translation is what is not happening. And in order to even start doing anything from that aspect, we do need to understand local to the ward what all is required. So one of the main things, and for us, what's been the most important thing has been the ward development scheme, because this is that first step and the first level where you can start asking for the plan. You can start baselining your ward and saying that, okay, now where does my ward stand? So the main aim is to evaluate the needs and aspirations of the citizen, prioritize work or projects to be undertaken, provide inputs to the government and the government departments, specify the ward budget and require to implement them. And once aggregated, this ward development scheme not only has the potential of actually influencing ward budgets and citizen needs, it can link back into zonal budgets, it can link back into setting a vision for the city and city level budgets to a huge extent. So the potential of it is actually phenomenal if done right. And so based on that, what we've been trying to do, and this has been an attempt almost, we started this almost around 8 to 9 months back, where we started to work on developing something called a state of the ward framework. And the aim of this was to just understand how can we very simply assess an entire ward so that we have, one is a baseline, the second is a starting point for investigation. So if I know something is bad, at least I know I need to start investigating it further to understand what exactly is going wrong there, or how do I start to resolve it. So we sort of borrowed from the livable standards in cities that has been done for the smart cities in India. However, what we did is we started contextualizing this framework for Bangalore's wards. And even though there are certain aspects at the city level that directly applied, we found newer aspects to actually come forth in the at the ward level state, especially responding to the 17-point mandate. So the state of the ward framework that has been developed so far, it's been tested in 2 wards, Ward 57 and Ward 45. And it sort of arrived from a lot of work that we had done in Ward 85. So it assesses the ward on 19 features of livability under 12 categories. And each of these have indicators which tell you where do you actually lie on the features. And these indicators are then used to place the ward on 4 scenarios. So scenario 1 being the worst and scenario 4 being the best. So these scenarios are described, and then it sort of moves them to tell you, are you placed on scenario 1? So you also know what you have to do to get to scenario 2, 3, and 4. So it sort of gives you not only a start to tell you where you are, but it also gives you a start point to tell you where you need to go to. This is an example of one of the wards, this ward 57, and you realize where it sort of lies with respect to each of the things. So scenario 3, it hit with parks and open spaces, but it hit the worst when it came to water management. Air quality is at the moment low because the only reason being that there was no data about it at all, right? So there's no monitoring of it. Is it bad, good? There was no data around it at all, no close air pollution sensors. So you don't even know whether it's good or bad for that matter. So we realized that it's actually 50% livable, where it scored highest on parks and open spaces and lowest on water management. And I'm just sort of going to focus a little bit on the process of it. So how do we actually go about doing something like this, right? So the main aspect of what we realized is the only way and the best way of doing this exercise was to do it with the citizens of the ward, which is ward committee members, people from different areas in the ward, other local volunteer teams, who are the people who knew the ward the best. What we did as urban planners and technical people in the thing is we just helped with data collection, mapping, and assessment. So building standardized tools for data collection, doing some of the secondary scraping of data from what is available on the BBMP website, DESCOM, BWSSB, education department. There's several layers to this that we have tried to pull together. And we work towards then building an interactive ward map, a ward map that has all of this located on a sort of a live map that can be seen by anybody. The third is a very important piece, which is still something that is important for ward committees to take up, is actually capturing insights from volunteers and citizens through basic survey forms. Are you getting water or not? Are you? How often do you actually depend on a water tanker? Where do you get drinking water from in the case of slums and low income housing communities? Where do you go to the toilet, right? In case there is no public toilet that's there. So this was seen in slums. Who goes and visits the PHC? Who is the services offered to? Do people in the slum actually use the PHC, or do they go to private clinics? Why do they go to private clinics? All of these are questions that only can be answered, in fact, very closely with citizens in the ward, through which you then are able to capture a priority of what people think is required from their perspective and their area perspective. The final thing is analysis, which is data analysis and scoring. This leads to building the state of the ward. And to that, the sort of add-on that was done along with BNP here as well was to analyze the 5-year budget. So BNP had come out with this budget, making the budget accessible and in fact very, very legible, very usable by anybody. And we sort of pulled out and analyzed the last 5-year budgets, which suddenly started making sense of what people, what is the state of the ward and why was it so bad, right? You had never allocated money to it, hence it was that bad. So, I mean, this has been a very sort of heartening pilots that we've conducted, 2 pilots, both in Ward 57, Ward 45. We have had the support of ward committee members and the nodal officers. Of course, both the nodal officers are now, they were special commissioners, which is why there was a lot more support and not the corporator. We really don't know how corporators will react to making things transparent. But however, at this level, it has actually been quite empowering, and it's been extremely fruitful an exercise, because you realize that not only have we learned from it, but the volunteers that have undertaken this exercise and been part of it, for them, suddenly there were pieces of their own area, locality, and ward that they had never seen before or never investigated before, or even stopped to think of what was the situation. So the empowerment that happens in both ways is quite phenomenal, actually, when you look at data. And it's not only about giving somebody the data, it's about in the collection process, we empower ourselves to know way more than that, so we can lead the discussion going forward. So you are learning along with that process as well. I mean, I don't know whether we have enough time, but this is just a very quick sort of layer, one of the layers that we had. This is on water supplies. This is an example of one of the livability feature. So this is under water and sewage, the parameter is water supply. And this is the interactive map that I was talking about, which lays down all the physical infrastructure, public taps, community bore wells, the ROs, the ROs that are available, which are functional, non-functional, where is their tanker supply happening at a huge level. There was assessment done using city level data, and actually we realized that CV Ramanagar not only had the most number of bore wells, also had a lot of tankers that were registered in their area. So you see here the tanker registration. There is a thing as tanker registration, and there are maps that actually symbolize that. But you see the difference, right? So this is city level data. What you're seeing on the left, which is this map, which just colors CV Ramanagar ward in one color. But this is a more granular data of saying what at the ward level, these are the areas that actually use tanker water. So how does that actually impact when I start looking at this ward very differently, right? So I'm not going to look at DRDO. I will actually go look at Nagvara Palya, SG Palya, all of these other areas that actually, do not have water and are dependent on tanker water for supply. Similarly, we had a thing with ROs, and we realized that, only 3 functional ROs, despite the fact that they had 10 ROs in the ward, which is amazing, right? Because then how are these people who are living there in low income housing and slums actually getting clean drinking water? Where were they getting their clean drinking water from if you had so many non-functional ROs that were there? So that became another sort of point of concern. And so we put it on the score of satisfactory. So this is what I meant was in terms of where does it lie? So it lies in scenario 2. But if it had to move into scenario 4, the ward had to have 24/7 supply through both centralized and localized recharge and reuse efforts. And there should be reduced exploitation of groundwater. And clean drinking water should be available to all sections of society. However, we realize that we are still on the satisfactory mark with respect to this. And sort of this was the linking of that to the budget. And you realize that a lot of the budget has gone on supplying of water tankers. However, no budget has been allocated towards aspects that look at rainwater harvesting or reuse of water. There was a lake that has been there, which has been just getting revived. STPs are just coming into play. So like all of these aspects are very important to sort of understand because you realize that the budget has not responded, nor has there been any focus on how I would approach it. So if this data was available to BBMP, would they still just only focus on supplying water tankers, or would they then also push the ballpark, or the ward committee push the ballpark on saying we need to have a more sustainable strategy to actually solve the problem of water?
Thanks, Sophia. I know that Bengaluru Navanirman Party did a very comprehensive study of ward number 57, CV Ramanagar, with you, and you've already given us some visuals with respect to what was found and how the budgeting actually was done. If there's any more information you have regarding this, we'd love to know, because we just have about, I think, 11 minutes left in the question answer session. Is there anything more you would like to show us as to what else was achieved in this ward mapping exercise? Otherwise, we can go on to the next question.
I'll just very quickly take you through some of the slides as well. That, I mean, there's pretty much pictorial. So this was linking in the scenarios of where each feature stood and the budgets that have been allocated. You realize that water management, even though lots has been gone towards stormwater drains, there's been very little in terms of the impact of it, right? So do I keep spending on just stormwater drains, or can I put in recharge pits into that? Those are the kinds of conversations that we can start having. You also realize that, I mean, very interesting, like parks and open spaces, we found that 74% of the budget was unspent. But you see that parks and open spaces are actually pretty good. Hence, because of lack of creativity of funding, right? They do the budgeting like the way it's done. The lack of creativity of funding kept every year after year, you kept putting budgets for parks, but 74% of that is actually unspent. So some very interesting insights. And so one of the main things we did here, specifically for Ward 57 is, Shrikant keeps talking about the power of area sabhas and how do we start making sense of area sabhas, right? And how do we form these areas? And so in here, the specific customization that we did to the tool is actually sliced it by area. So very quickly, this is one of the areas, Nagvara Palya. We cut across the issues for the area itself. And we realized that by doing this, it becomes a lot more actionable for area sabhas specifically, where they know and they can see what can actually happen. So you did have a flooding zone in this area, but not necessarily any other area of the ward, right? So this became again a very important aspect to be able to showcase how to move forward. And so recently there was the budgeting that is submitted to the ward committee. In the ward committee, we have submitted the report along with BNP, and basically it was a combination of putting everything together plus going through the process of it. So I'm just going to quickly, I don't want to get into the details of it, but there were aspects of suggestions made to the extent of saying, okay, you need to set up leaf shedders and composters in the parks, right? You have to tell them where to do it. It can't be as open as saying that you need to do this, but where can we find that, right? So very simple things, street lights to be fixed in Sudagunte-Palya, OMR, Vartur Junction. All of this came in only because there were a lot of citizens also involved in it, in the exercise, from who are part of BNP, few of them, and who some of them who have just volunteered. But now this has been submitted, and hopefully it'll move forward to be able to influence the budget for the ward.
So I'd like to just ask a question. How many days or weeks did this entire ward mapping exercise for one ward take?
So the ward mapping exercise, in fact, actually when we did it for Ward 57, took us a little longer because we were still learning. When we replicated in Ward 45, it took us about 15 working days, and it involved citizens on 2 days for periods of 2 to 3 hours to be able to do the mapping exercise. But 15 working days is, so that's, you can take it around three weeks to be able to complete an exercise like this. And now, of course, we've already optimized a lot of the process at the back end. So that's why the timeline has also reduced.
Wonderful. That's very impressive. Yeah. We have time. I'll just shoot my last question. We have 8 minutes left. Yeah. My last question is, to quote you, Sobia, the ward committee promises to be a game changer for our city. Would it also fulfill the 8 pillars or principles of good governance as put down by none other than the United Nations?
Yeah. You know,
if so, then how so?
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because it's quite beautiful how the ward committee mandate does encompass that, and that we have actually moved towards that. So the 8 principles are, I think, something that all of us feel should happen, right? I need it to be accountable. There needs to be transparency. You need to have a responsive government, equitable and inclusive city, effective and efficient, something that follows the rule of law. It should be participatory and consensus oriented. And in fact, like all of these aspects of good governance is something that the ward committee has the power to make happen. Why do we need this is also to ensure that corruption is minimized, views of minorities are taken into consideration, most vulnerable are brought to the forefront. You are making everybody participate in decision making, and people are feeling like they own their surroundings, right? I will invest as a citizen more and more into my surrounding only if I see it come back to me. So it is also the basis of a very active citizenry. If you don't have an open governance, the citizenry also is not going to be open to come forward and support the government in doing aspects. And for us, actually, data and the reason the state of the ward has come, because we realized that that has become a very interesting first step towards getting into that direction. The fact that you can have ward committees now have more engaged and informed citizens. And informed here is bold from the reason that I cannot engage a citizen unless a citizen is informed. Then it's only a fight. But an informed citizen also knows how to empathize with the government, also understands certain limitations of it, also is able to support and help delivery where possible. So it's very important that we sort of look at that as an aspect. The second is understanding who and what is the ward made of. It is so important. In fact, this has come out several times, even recently in the Ward 57 Ward Committee meeting. It had come up amongst, not only amongst the people, but just to understand who makes the ward, right? Who is a part of it? Which government officials? What is the structure of different government bodies? Who do I go to if I have a problem like this? Clarifying that is so important. And to some extent, it is getting clarified at our ward committee because you're seeing the faces of those officials. You may not know their designation still, but at least they are there present to resolve, and you know you have a face to it, you have a phone number, you have a name to it of who you can call, right? Visibility into quantification of issues and evidence building, right? That's been another aspect of it. Understanding each one's role in the system. The power to negotiate. This is so important. If I have the power to negotiate what happens in my area, I'm going to invest more and more into it. Plus, even the official that is there, whether it's the corporator or whether it is the nodal officer or the BBMP officials, both can be empowered through this process. The potential to co-create solutions at a local level. So important, right? Because in fact, it was so interesting that through all of these exercises, we've had a 15-year-old boy, we've had a 70-year-old man, we've had architects, urban planners, data people. I mean, forget the fact that it is a citizen, right? Look at the fact that that citizen also has a skill set to that person, to themselves. What can they bring to the table to be able to co-create these situations? Because in fact, recently also I had a conversation. There are people who have started companies, there are people who work with big data. This is nothing for them, right? If they were actually allowed to get involved as citizens, there's so much more that they can bring to the table. Higher participation and representation of diverse stakeholders. Again, we have there is representation of women, of SC/STs, all of that at our ward committees. But have we allowed for that to happen in a transparent manner? Right. So very important to ensure that that is, linked and pushed forward, and an ability to respond and budget for the most urgent issues. And having data will help you do that. Do I fight for my road quality, or do I fight for the public toilet in the slum that doesn't have one? Just placing that in perspective. How do we actually negotiate who or what should be budgeted for in the first year versus the second year, third, fourth, and fifth? Because you have a 5-year term as a corporator. So how do you start very strategically, pushing the most urgent issues, which is basics, the basics of living that are required. You have slums which are defecating in the open. You find them with no water supply. They don't have money. They're going to private clinics because PHCs don't have, anything to offer. So all of that comes into perspective when you start with even putting data to the front and then having a conversation.
Wonderful. That's a very perfect summarization of how important data is and how it actually empowers a citizen. An informed citizen is certainly the first step to becoming an empowered citizen. And BNP's objective in putting up these belief symposiums has been precisely that, to make citizens of Bengaluru more informed, more aware, and more empowered, and to make them aware that they can actually be the change makers at ward levels. And we also would like to inform everyone that there are companies like Sensing Local who are there to help us. So don't throw up your hands in despair and say, what can we do? There's a lot that we can all do as citizens. Thank you so much, Sobia. Can we now go on to the questions by the viewers? Okay. Would you like to pick them, or would you like me to do that? If you can see the question answer panel.
Just a second.
Yeah. I'll take the first question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a way, this is from Shashidhar KG. Is there a way to get the information of revenue generated, that is property tax, etc., at the ward level? Some site at the BMP is what he's asking.
Actually, this is not public. It's not been made public. However, we can access the revenue officer and get some of this information. In fact, the fact that our property tax is not made public or accessible, even internally within BBMP officials, is actually quite sad. But if we do sit with the ARO, which is the person that you need to go to, you will be able to get some level of information regarding this.
Okay. There's another question from Satyanarayan Bindignavale, which says there is no display of water quality testing data at any of the Parishuddha Jala outlets. Do we need transparency regarding this?
I am not very familiar with this aspect, actually. So,
okay. So if you can see the question panel, Sobia, you could choose questions that you think would be relevant.
Sure. So I think I didn't see that question at all, actually. So I was just wondering.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
I will move to the one that has, I'm not sure if that is.
One of the questions says, are there process steps that can be followed to start a ward mapping exercise? This is by Shashidhar.
Yes, there are steps that can be followed. The first step is building a baseline for the ward. And this is what we are trying to develop as a tool where, in fact, we've used all open source tools to be able to do that. And it requires a very short engagement also to be able to do that. What you can do with a baseline of the ward, after that, you can get into investigation. So if you realize that, okay, I want to look at solid waste management, then there are different steps to be followed versus when you look at tackling water supply or water management, right? Because everything is depends on the government institute, who's responding, who's speaking to you regarding that. So at a baseline level, to understand where the ward stands, there is a simple step. After that, it gets into based on, what do I look at? Say, for example, we've been trying to develop for achieving zero waste wards. That has been a part of the SWM bylaw. We are trying to develop a toolkit for that, which gives a step-by-step direction of saying what are the options that I have available to become zero waste as a ward. So yes, for the first there is. For the others, in fact, there are a lot of people also who are working in this direction, trying to do that. Multiple people, whether it's education, there multiple organizations working in different parameters of this as well.
Okay. So I see a number of questions about from people saying that they're very impressed with the work done in Ward 57 and how they can replicate that for their wards. Any short answer to that?
Just write us an email. We're accessible at info@sensinglocal.in. I mean, write us or at our website, Sensing Local, reach out to us. Absolutely happy to have a discussion. We have just sort of are in our pilot stage. We finished 2 wards and we were really hoping to push it with the nodal officers. We managed to do it for Ward 57 thanks to BNP. Ward 45 is still awaiting their new nodal officer. So as soon as that happens, we'll move in there. But effectively, what it requires is at least 2 to 3 citizens that need to drive this exercise. As we are not the people that will give the answers. We only set a framework to help you arrive at the answer. And we will provide that technical support, but you have to be the front of it. And if you are a citizen group or an RWA ready to do that, please reach out to us.
I'll just chip in here as well. For all of you who are interested in undertaking an exercise, we have done it very extensively in Ward 57. We can definitely replicate the same along with Sensing Local in your ward as well. We'll need a few volunteers and the whole process is very well set now. So we can definitely look at doing that, provided some of you show interest. So any of you interested, please post it on our groups and then we can take it up and start moving.
Okay, Shrikant, if, do we need to ask any live questions as well? Could you help me with that, please? Are there any people who would like to ask their questions live? I mean, by audio?
Yeah, I think you can unmute for 1 minute. Somnath Dash has raised his.
Okay, not sure how to go to that.
So Somnath, you can unmute yourself and you can ask.
Okay.
Somnath Dash.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I thanks Shubhya Rafiq, nicely enlightening us to the knowledge which we never had. And same thing, good coordinator, Shraddha Madam. So now I want to bring to this, I don't belong to BVMP ward, this is TMC Chandapura, Anekal Chandapura. This area we face, there is no administration at all. We don't know who is our corporator, what is going on, what is the revenue. We come under KHP, we belong to none, but election has taken place 5 years before. We have never seen the word corporator or any action. We always buy tankers most of the times, although we have a Kaveri supply. So it's a totally mismanagement area. So I don't know how to put things. It's such a bad shape. If we can get knowledge from you.
But there would be the administration body, right? Right now, there'll be someone who will be the administrator. Like there will be the government officials, not the elected representatives, but the administration part of it. So
those names and nothing is displayed. We don't know even who is that. Nowhere, never a meeting.
Okay.
So Somnath, the specific query, I think we'll have to take it separately. Doesn't directly relate to the session. Probably you
Okay,
can post it on our group, and then depending
Thank
on
you.
which area you are from, whether it falls
Thank
in
you.
BBMP limits or Panchayat limits, we can.
Yes.
then
It's TMC. It's TMC. TMC.
TMC, huh?
Which
So that
TMC
would
is
be
this?
different.
Yeah, which TMC is this?
This is Chandapura. Chandapura. Next to
Chandapura.
Electronic City towards Ativila Nekal.
Yeah. So we'll be very honest. Right now, since our focus is more on BBMP,
Fine.
we do have a
Thank
lot
you.
of
This first
information
meeting.
related to
Thank
BBMP, but the town municipal corporations, we haven't really spent that.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks.
Shraddha, probably you can take up 1 or 2 questions from the Q&A.
Yeah, we can take one more question from Shrikala. Shrikala, you can unmute yourself and talk. Okay, I think she's not right now able to. How about Jagdish Reddy? Would you like to talk? Jagdish Reddy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Sophia. After
Hi,
a long time,
Jagdish.
we are meeting again. So
Yeah.
it's good to see you. You know, after a very long time, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Srikant, for inviting into this meeting. It's been very good. Sophia, you as usual, your analysis are to the micro level. So I really appreciate bringing out this and doing a complete analysis on Watt 57. That's again amazing things just come out, and then a holistic approach has been followed. So that's what my observation is. And so I would like to volunteer for ward number 149. So what we want something similar what has been done on Ward 45 and 57. So we would like to have similar analysis to this because it's a huge ward. It was 26 square kilometers earlier. Now it's the delimitations, it will be not less than 20 square kilometer again. So it will be again
Really?
yeah. So it's going to be a biggest award again, even though we'll have like 243 with the delimitation. So the issues are aplenty, as you are already seen, with respect to solid waste management and CND waste dumping, effluents coming in from everywhere. So RASI waste flowing in our channels, encroachments, all this, we've been fighting since quite long. But yeah, with your help again, with the DPR we made with Vartur and partially with encroachment stuff. So that has helped a bit. But now so we need a complete analysis with respect to all the 8 principles.
Yeah, Jagdish, happy to discuss this offline as well. I mean, we can take it up with Srikant as well, as he suggested.
Certainly.
It is a massive ward. Yes, it's even after. So after Ward 57 is Ward 85, and then is Ward 149. So it's our Vartur Lake ward. So yes.
Yeah. One good news is the Vartur Lake, both Bedandur and Vartur, it has come up for regeneration, and deseeding is going on. You are welcome to visit any point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to our next question now from the question answer panel. Just a minute, please. Let's finish this question. Is there a provision to divert funds to certain basic needs within a ward? For example, prioritizing drinking water supply and sewage as opposed to development of parks. This is from Manjunath, DN.
So that's where the thing came, if we influence it just in time. So usually the budgets start getting prepared. And this is actually a very interesting thing. So budgets start actually getting prepared in the months of Jan, Feb, March, right? When they have to submit it. What happens is at a central level, every department, so you have the solid waste management department, you have BBMP parks, you have BBMP lakes, all of them, literally it is maybe the last week or probably sometimes even overnight that these budgets are prepared. They are prepared at such a macro level that after it gets prepared, it's almost a fight to decide which corporator has a louder voice to be able to get things within their ward. Also dealt by the party, right? The party that's probably influenced or got most number of seats or at the state level. So in fact, this whole process itself is extremely lopsided, right? You have somebody sitting at the head office level deciding what are the budgets for the ward level. That person is probably not even visited all the wards, doesn't understand or not basing anything on data to understand which is the most needed, least needed, any of that, right? What we are saying is what ward committees is giving us is to completely shift that the other way around. If we were prepared with our budgeting, good, like well in advance, right? If like we are saying right now, to do a state of the ward takes 15 days. Spending 1 month on budgeting for the ward for the next year, even the first financial year or in the beginning. Now we're going to have new corporators come in. We have new board boundaries that are coming. Every ward committee, if they spend 1 month to baseline their ward and then decide and come up with a 5-year plan, and at every year evaluate their yearly plans, there is definitely a way. If you immediately, if you see that, you'll know where the most urgent needs are, you'll know where the least ones are. If you say where they are scored on, right, and how important they are to livability. So just turning that whole thing around, empowering the ward level to be able to follow a systematic process, not a intuitive process or not a favoritism process for this, right? It's completely driven in data, driven in evidence on what needs to happen, who or what needs to be addressed first. So that shift is something that's very interesting, that can happen. We've already shown it with 2 wards, with 57 and 45, that it is very different from the way the central budget works. So now we've already made that link to say that what budgeting is done at the ground level can be very different from what the way you've been doing it at the city level over the last 5 years. So you see that there is a skewed method. It's clearly showing, and we're also showing now to say, okay, how can we do it better? How can we better inform this? So yes, there is a huge potential to change that. There's a huge potential to ensure that we do not have unspent funds that keep getting lapsed. Huge potential, because now you'll have things which are far more local. You'll have things that are far more relevant to what is required.
Yes, absolutely, Shobhya. There are a number of questions here about how can I attend ward committee meetings, how can I become a ward committee member, etc. Would you like to briefly answer that? Can I attend a committee meeting if I'm not a member of the ward committee, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. So the thing is, the biggest problem is the communication, right? So there are several, like there is CFB, BNP is connected with several wards across. I think just trying to understand, I think there is a bit of disturbance.
Yeah, could everyone mute themselves when Shobhya is talking, please?
Yeah. So basically, if you sort of understand that there are other organizations, right? There is CFB, BNP is connected across several wards. Just becoming a part of these volunteer groups, where currently very informally it is being communicated. The other thing is, on the BBMP website, there is the numbers of the nodal officers that are present and ward committee members that are present. This is there for all the wards, right? Being able to call a ward committee member that has been put in your thing and understand if there's ward committee meeting happening or not. A lot of wards are having online ward committee meetings as well. So it's just through Zoom calls. You don't even have to go out to a ward office, right? Some of them, the ones that are having in parks, slightly open spaces as well. So the thing is to be able to go and find out, become a part of this larger citizen movement and citizen group. I know a lot of wards have not started, but a lot of wards have also been in the position that your ward is in. And they've been active citizens that have very continuously been pushing the system, calling the nodal officer and saying, why are you not having the meeting, raising it at probably looking at a neighboring ward that has the ward committee, pushing through there with your constituency or zone level officer, that is your zonal JC, saying that why aren't we having ward committee? So basically starting to question if there is no ward committee. And if there is, you will, by speaking to or calling the nodal officer, the number that is available, you will find out, or call anyone, call the health inspector, any other BBMP official that you are able to get your hands on, and ask them. They will know if there's a ward committee meeting happening or not. Ask them to include you in that process of when it is, they will have a WhatsApp group for sure. Ask them to include you in that. So this has to be done in a very organic manner, where you will have to figure out who is actually the BBMP official. Are they having it or not? If they're not having it, try to get into certain citizen groups, understand what's going on in other wards. How can you push it in your ward? So this will be a trial and error that has to be tried out, unfortunately.
So just FYI for people who have never attended ward meetings and want to know how to, the Bengaluru Navanirmana Party website actually has listed all the nodal officers for every ward. You have to go to the citizen portal and just check who is your nodal officer. The phone number is also given. You could just call them and then be part of the ward activities. That's all it takes.
Shraddha, you're on mute.
One observation I would like to share, Shraddha, and for all the panelists. With respect to ward committee nodal officers, my observation, most of the nodal officers being frequently transferred or changed. So the list what we currently BNP has, most of them are shifted out of the wards. So we need to again update the list.
So I think BNP is constantly updating the list. If you find that there is somebody who is outdated, then you could definitely let us know.
Certainly, Vartur, certainly I can say, Rajendran is shunted out, and then there's no other guy has been renamed from last 4 months at least, and there is no ward committee meeting been held since 4 months. We've been pushing, but yeah, so things are a little hard, and we are talking to the thick-skinned politicians around here. So unfortunately, so that didn't happen. But anyway, we are following on it. We'll certainly update on new nodal officers. Whenever they want to put it here.
Sure. So we'll make note of that and follow up on this. Yeah, we'll now take Achyuta Rao's question. Are you around, Achyuta Rao? Could you unmute and talk, please?
Yeah. Hello, madam. I am in Ward 192, and I am the secretary of Nandi Woods Apartment Residents Association. So I have been in contact with these corporators and BBMP officials for this development, garbage cleaning, and that STP water, how to connect into the sewerage line and all, treated water. But I am not getting any positive response because I am a social activist also in my area. But somehow I'm not able to get the work done from these agencies. So if I can part of this group,
Sorry, your audio seems to be a little disturbed. Not able to hear you very well. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll just look at the question and answer panel again. There is one person, Bhargav KR, who says, I'm super excited to do a ward mapping exercise in my ward. I'd like to know what have been the challenges and limitations after having done a ward mapping exercise, if any.
Yes, I will take that question also with what I think Mr. Achyuta was also trying to say. See, when we see an issue, right? It is an intuition saying that, okay, my sewage drain is overflowing, or my stormwater drain has sewage in it, or the fact that I have polluted lakes. Our first intuition is to start pushing the government to resolve it. However, what we have to understand, and this is going to lead into the ward mapping, is that everything cannot happen at the ward level. There are certain challenges that are there at a city level. So for example, getting an STP put in a ward and getting the sewage connection happens by BWSSB at a central level. This does not happen at the ward level. As much as we may bring it up and keep harassing the people that are at the ward level or the officials at the ward level saying, I do not have it, it will not get resolved until BWSSB at a city level actually sanctions larger funding for it. So we have to understand BWSSB is a beast on its own, right? When I look at whether it is my water supply, my connection for water supply, whether it is my sewage connection, everything comes under BWSSB. However, if I want to get a simple thing fixed, like I want to get my street light fixed, very doable. I want to get a new street light put, very doable. It comes under BBMP's jurisdiction. It can come from the local level. These guys have the power to influence that budget. So when we actually start as citizens, right, to be able to move into constructively working with the government, we need to very, very quickly be able to understand what is the issue, why is that issue happening, and where is that issue going to get resolved. Is it at my ward level official? Is it at my city level official? Is it at my zonal level official? Which of these three levels do I have to go to get it resolved? So that is very important before you choose which battle you want to fight. Because if we are going to continue to fight battles that is dependent on a commissioner and sometimes even state government, right? there is no point in fighting that battle, because we will only get disheartened and we will only get ourselves into this rut or the cycle of being trying to push, getting disappointed, trying to push, getting disappointed, which is it will not get you anywhere, right? Of course, it requires a lot of pressure, but if I was to tackle a city level problem, I am not going to tackle it as a ward. I will approach other people in other wards and tackle this also as a civic issue, which is going to come in with the power saying that 15 wards, 30 wards have said there is no water supply. Why do I do it only? Why do I fight this battle alone? No one's going to listen to me. I rather fight it with a larger group. So joining other larger citizen groups that are around, speaking to other RWAs, understanding if this problem is only yours or it is other people's problem as well. So it's very important to be able to choose what issue you want to fight on as a citizen. And I think the ward mapping exercise allows us that information. Participating in a ward mapping exercise, and in fact, we've tried to optimize it to an extent where, the volunteers of 57 and 45 went through a lot of iterations. In fact, we even exhausted them to some extent, I would say, especially 57. Some of them, if they're here, they will be testament to that it was quite strenuous in the beginning. However, now what we've come up with, which we tried for Ward 45, in fact, was a very simple module. It requires 2 to 3 core citizens who will drive this effectively. That's all it takes. Who will really chase this, whether it is setting up meetings with the ward committee members, whether it is to have or be present in the conversations with the government officials or reaching out to the government officials. Because a government official, whether it's a BBMP official or whoever it is, will not listen to me. I'm nobody. But a person from the ward, yes, he will have to listen to that person because that's the person who he sees day in and day out, right? So that is the first important step. The second is, of course, putting out a call for volunteers. And effectively, we've required anywhere between 15 to 20 volunteers based on the scale of the ward. So a ward like Malleshwaram required around 15 volunteers that we had for about like 2 days, which is like a weekend because weekends are easier for people to come out. Even in CV Ramanagar, we worked with around, I think, 12 odd volunteers as well. So effectively, that seems to be what is working. But of course, if you have larger wards, whether it's Vartur, whether it is even like wards like Ward 85, the exercise might take longer even if we have the same number of volunteers. So it's just about a time factor because it may take longer to cover all the areas. But effectively, yes, it is not a challenging exercise. It is fairly simple. Some parts of it, if we also, as we go, we will also understand what parts of it are really unique to certain wards that have not come about. So that can be added. So yes, it's always definitely a fruitful exercise to start understanding what's happening and sort of trying to understand who is going to resolve it also along with that. So we do have interview formats for all the government officials that are meant to be at the ward committee. These interviews are to be had as well. We have formats that we've developed to do surveys with citizens to understand in terms of every aspect of it. So if it's a slum, there is a separate questionnaire for it. So there are these citizen surveys also. There is a lot of in-person exercises of primary data collection, but there is also a lot of it that we've tried to move into secondary data collection that we find from the portals that are already available. So yes, it is a combination of this that can happen.
That is a wonderful answer that you gave, Sobhya. I think the key takeaway from that was know what you can change and know what you can't change in the given scenario, and basically be an informed citizen. Have the wisdom to know what you can change and what you cannot change. Yeah. As a citizen of Jogpalya, I can tell you that there are certain issues that can be easily resolved, of course, with the cooperation of the nodal officer. For instance, in our area, we have a very active group of citizens. So we have actually put forth things like garbage black spots that can be quite easily resolved. Street lights not working, necessity for new street lights, that is again something that can be resolved. Encroachment of footpaths, illegal parking, these kind of things, the nodal officer is very proactive and in fact is able to handle it. But when we brought up an issue like there is a stormwater drain running all over Bangalore and it runs through my locality. So when I told him that this issue is there and it's a big hygiene problem, he told me very frankly that this is something which I cannot do. This is something that the state government has to do and the BWSSB has to do. I cannot do this. So he was very upfront, and then I stopped focusing on that and focused on things that I could change. So my advice is for everybody who wants to get involved, please follow Sobia's advice and change the things that you can change. There's still quite a lot that you can change and bring improvement within the wards.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For your update.
You're welcome. So there's another 5 minutes. Sobia, if you want to make any concluding remarks or have anything to say, please do so.
No, I really enjoy this entire series that BNP has put together, and it's so important, right? Because in fact, in Bangalore, we have
Sorry,
so
Sophia.
many.
Sorry,
Yes.
there are quite a few more questions and 1 or 2 more hands also up.
Okay,
Why don't
shall
we
we
take a
take
few
that?
more and then we can conclude by
Done.
Okay.
Tippaswamy, you can.
Is this in the Q&A panel?
No, Tippaswamy has raised his hand. Tippaswamy, you can unmute and ask.
Hello, you are able to hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, actually, I am one of the treasurer in SLS Summerfields in last year. I was the treasurer. My very curious question is how to become a ward committee member, because that requires a lot of support from the political front. Is that we have to go and meet corporator every time, or we have to influence from through MLA or something like that? Until unless we are into political influence, I feel it is very difficult. That is out. What is the techniques we can use?
So, I mean, it's a very interesting question, and I wish, I'm sure Katyani ma'am would have been a better person to answer it, because they have been working, in fact, Civic as an organization has been working in bringing about transparency and how a ward committee member is to be selected. It has happened, unfortunately, like you're saying, through the corporator liking a lot of officers. I mean, a lot of people who are in the ward committee have come about in this first phase, right? However, what we've seen in a lot of other wards, active citizens that have worked with government officials have also been able to get into or get nominated as ward committee members, not necessarily only because they work with the corporator, but they are known to be active citizens that are there. And I mean, the important thing is that we don't look at the corporator or our BBMP nodal officer as the other. We need to, as citizens, we need to, especially ward committee members, we need to see them as equal partners in trying to make change. And interacting with them, in fact, as a first step is the most important step. So I cannot say I will do civic work and not interact with the corporator. So it's very important to start having that conversations, of course, to be able to start understanding before you become a ward committee member. However, that being said, as a regular citizen, there is nothing stopping you from going and attending ward committee meetings and even speaking or raising your concern in a ward committee meeting. Nobody is stopping that. So whether you are a ward committee member or not, you can very effectively get your point across by attending these ward committee meetings. Maybe that will help you gain some conversations with these with the corporator or the other ward committee members, and probably in the next term onwards that will help you become a ward committee member as well. So it is an organic process that will happen if there is interest also taken. So I would suggest anybody who's there here, of course, your starting target should be attend the ward committee meeting. After that, becoming a ward committee member is after that, you know. So there are only eight citizens of the ward that become ward committee members. However, 50 citizens can even attend the ward committee meetings, or even 100 citizens. It doesn't really matter. So in fact, we've seen that in a lot of ward committees as well. So that should be your first target, is to attend, familiarize yourself, see who's there, see who's doing work, who's able to work, who should you empower, who's the right guy to speak to. All of that should start there.
Yes, that's so true. Can we take one more question, Shrikant?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have a minute, so I would request let me ask L1506 Purva Heland, if you'd like to talk. You could unmute yourself. Could I request you to please keep it short?
Yeah, thank you, Shraddha ma'am. Hello, Sobia ma'am. Good evening. I am Ramdas Alva from ward number 198. Lives in Purva Highland. the water what we get in the Purva Highland is not very good. To get this Kaveri water, who are the people can help us? Whether the nodal officer or the higher ups will help us.
This is higher up BWSSB direct. BWSSB has a plan till 2024, I think, to be able to provide Kaveri water. This will happen. Of course, there are BWSSB office you can speak to at the local level, but it is a decision that's very like highly driven at the central level. So the BWSSB commissioner is the only person who can answer this question to a huge extent. They have a plan. They put out a plan. It is available on their website. If you check out BWSSB website, you can see which phase you fall under. I think you will be under phase 5. So just to be able to track and see when that will happen, I know there's a plan for it, but when will that happen is something you can ask your local BWSSB official.
It's actually quite a complicated process, overall BWSSB. So we would take it offline. It's something that we have taken up as an issue in the Bellandur area. All the 110 villages and beyond, these are genuine issues that people face. But let's take it up offline. I don't think we'll be able to address it in this session.
Okay. Thank you, Sobhya and ma'am and Srikanth sir. Thanks for your update.
You're welcome. Srikanth, should we wind up the session?
Yeah, I think we should wind up now. Only one request to people. There are quite a few questions which are still there, a few hands. Any of you who have any questions relating to the session, please send an email to info@nammabnp.org. I repeat, info @nammabnp.org. We'll pass the question on to Sobhya so that she can at least respond through email as required. So please do that, and we can take up your questions. Also, quite a few people have said we are interested in doing the ward mapping exercise, etc. So any of you who are having interest, again, please do send a message to info@nammabnp.org with your interest. We can connect you with Sobhya, or we can also help you out with that. Sorry, Sobhya, I cut you when you were just about giving your concluding remarks. So
no worries. No, I think it's just such a great session, and it's amazing the panelists that have been, brought forth for the other sessions as well. And I think just to be able to understand as citizens, we feel so helpless, right? I mean, I've been born and brought up in Bangalore, seeing it really deteriorate. I'm sure the guys who are older than me have seen it in a far better state than I have seen it when I was born. But to be able to start doing something, I think the biggest hope is that we have parties like BNP, we have like organizations like Citizens for Bengaluru, we've got a Janagraha, we've got SWMRT, we've got some of the best organizations that have started their journey from Bangalore. And that has come out of two things. It's come out of not only the fact that we have a very open governance system. It is easy for us to go and approach BBMP. May not be BWSSB or BESCOM, but definitely BBMP. That has also allowed for us to sort of move and push the boundaries, right? But we've reached such an amazing stage right now. And I think the ward committees thing, all Katyani ma'am and all other organizations, Janagraha, all of them have been talking about it for the last 20 years. We've got it now after 20 years. And so for us, the main focus has been, let's not put that to waste. Let's take it from the next level and reach it to the other level, right? And I think that should be all of our approach. We have a lot of it that has been set right, and that's been set in stone. And it is just about us becoming active, asking more questions to start leveraging it, because nobody now can tell you, no, I don't want to have a ward committee meeting. You have the authority to question. And that's the first step. And nobody can tell you, don't collect data, right? An exercise like this was done absolutely independently. It was just us with citizens that, and in this BNP took over in Ward 57, 45, we have Malleshwaram Social that came forward and said, let's do this exercise. I mean, that nobody's stopping you from putting out data, very doable. And then after that, once you have data, how do you start questioning people? Because nobody can contend anything, right? So start having conversations, start from moving from a approach that we keep blaming the government to now starting to nudge the government and nudge it to move in the right direction. A lot of wards have done it. They've done it over consistent effort with the government officials. It has not happened overnight. And you may be starting now, but you have to understand that you also have other wards to learn from, that you can really leapfrog in your own ward, right? So I think just being open to that idea that since everyone here, I'm sure, is already interested, let's move the ball forward. And there are several organizations that will help you do that. Organizations like us, organizations apart from us, there are amazing like Janagraha, like CFB, like BNP is coming forward to help. They've done amazing work already. Reap Benefit, there's so many of them. Jhatka, I mean, they're just, the list is unending. There are always accessible for everyone to come on board and starting to make a change. So reach out, become informed. This is the best place for you to start. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for those very positive concluding remarks, Sobhya. And I also believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a tunnel, we have to travel through it, but we will keep seeing light as we go forward. And yeah, Bengaluru BNP is there to help citizens to become empowered, to help citizens to know more and become informed. So please don't give up hope. Engage with BNP, engage with people like Sensing Local, and start making changes in your communities. Yeah, thank you so much. We have we've had wonderful participation and quite a record number of participants today. That's been really great. The Q&A session has been very good. So thank you so much. And there's Yugadi around the corner. So I wish you all happy Yugadi in advance. And may the new year bring new belief. Yes, pun intended. May the new year bring new belief in ourselves that we as citizens can actually effect change in our local communities, in at the grassroots level, at ward level. Ellerige BNP kadeyinda tumba thanks, ಧನ್ಯವಾದ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಯುಗಾದಿದು ಶುಭ ಆಶಯಗಳು. I hope I got that right. Thank you, Sobhya. It was wonderful having you. Look forward to seeing you again. Yeah, and see you all in the next belief session. Bye and take care.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.